Imagine going about a regular day in London, then on your commute home, losing your limbs in a matter of seconds. She was struck by a London Underground tube not once, but twice, and then somehow came back even stronger, using some of the most advanced bionic technology in the world. Today's guest didn't just survive, she rebuilt her life in a way that's redefining what humans and technology can do together. Meanwhile, bringing attention to some very important issues. It's Limb Difference Awareness Month, and Sarah de Lagarde is a force to be reckoned with. Hey everyone, welcome back to Tilly Talks Tech. My name is Tilly, I am your host, and on this podcast we talk about the technology that is changing the way we live and individual people's lives as well. We're all about expanding human potential, and the woman I'm about to have on this podcast, she is a survivor, and her joy and drive towards life, the resilience that she encapsulates since her accident and before it, is just truly remarkable. Despite what happened, she truly is like a bundle of joy, and she's went on to accomplish so many incredible things. An incredible example in the limb difference community. Today, I'm going to be learning all about her story, her adjustment to wearing prosthetics when that's not something she's ever had to think about before, and her journey traveling the world talking about super important topics, like how prosthetics aren't necessarily designed for women. Please welcome to the podcast, the incredible Sarah de Lagarde. Hello, Sarah. Welcome to Tilly Talks Tech. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me. You know, I've been wanting to get you on the podcast since you came to HQ. I was like, we have to make this happen. How are you feeling?
I'm good, honestly. It's true that it's been quite a while since we saw each other at Open Bionics, and I came all the way to Bristol for the first time. Love the city, by the way. So cool.
Ooh, come back, girl. Come back. We'll get
Yep,
you on in
I'm coming back.
person. I must say, I have quite a big question for you to start off with, because you have an incredible story. You've rebuilt your life in a way that most people can't even imagine. And I was wondering if there was like a certain belief about yourself that had to like completely change for that to happen. Like, what's your motto in life, maybe before your accident and after it now, to like be as audacious and amazing as you are?
Oh, well, thank you. I don't know. I've had like friends and family and colleagues commenting that actually before I lost my limbs, that I already was somebody who tended to see solutions rather than just problems, and that I had that certain optimism that I still have today. But the motto that I used to have before my life changed
Yeah.
that radically was nothing is impossible. And
Wow.
and weirdly, that is, even more appropriate after I lost my limbs in the accident. I don't know. I still have that same level of optimism, but it's slightly different now. It's more quiet. It's more of an inner confidence and saying, I trust my body a lot more than I used to, because that night I should have died at least 10 times. The survival rates in an accident like mine are like less than 10%. And so it gave me a whole new confidence in my own body. Like, I didn't know I was that strong to survive that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, you're so right. I mean, it is such a crazy thing to happen, and the fact that that was your motto before this even happened to you, I feel like speaks volumes. It's almost like you were like affirming that to yourself, and like on that night, like that kicked in, and it was like, okay, this is like the proof now that truly like you can survive the impossible and you can come out the other end of it. And I just find that so amazing, and the way that that's carried through before your accident to after. But you seem to have like always had that like real mental strength, and then obviously like your body survived the impossible, which I think just reaffirms that physically as well. I was wondering if you could talk me through that day of your accident, because it was just like a normal day in London, right? Like, this could happen to anybody, which I think is the craziest thing.
I know. And so, I mean, I generally talk about the contrast because 1 month before the accident happened, my husband and I, we went to Tanzania and we climbed Kilimanjaro, right? So that was the biggest feat I'd ever done before. I'm not particularly sporty as a person, I am happy if I go to the gym every 6 months once to not lose my membership, but but
That's
that was for
relatable.
me the biggest win, to be able to climb that high. It was 8 days sleeping in a tent on the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
There's 50% less oxygen at the top. It was pretty tough. And my
Yeah.
husband, you've met him, right? He's like this tall guy, 6'4", full of
Mm-hmm.
muscles. And he was like so confident that he would be able to, saunter up this mountain. And lo and behold, he wasn't the one who managed to get up there without any issues. I was the one that was feeling fine because he had like altitude sickness and hypothermia and all of that happening.
Whoa.
And so standing on top of that mountain as the sun rose, I was so excited because I expected to be the liability. I expected the one that they would have to call the helicopter to take down, and
Yeah.
I made it. And so I was so excited. I remember thinking like this, I feel invincible. And
Yeah.
then reality check, 1 month later, we're back in London. I'm back at work. And I remember that night, it was Friday evening. I was working a little bit later than usual. And you know how you have that sliding door moments where you're like, it's raining, maybe I should take a cab instead of
Mm-hmm.
taking public transport to go home. And because it was raining, no cab came. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to take the tube. And that is that sliding door moment that changed my life, right? And so I slipped on a wet and uneven platform and fell through the gap. And there was a stationary train there, and there was a platform, and I fell through the gap. So you have to imagine
Mm-hmm.
the gap was larger than my shoulders because I fell through it. And nobody saw me fall. The train departed and crushed my right arm above the elbow. And I, by some miracle, was still conscious. So I was trying to draw attention to myself, screaming for help, but no
Yeah.
help came. And I remember losing my phone in the fall, and I could see it in the darkness. So this was an outside station, so it was raining, it was dark, and I remember like retrieving it and trying to call for help,
Mm-hmm.
and the phone wouldn't recognize my profile because I didn't know that at the time I'd broken my nose and I'd
Oh my
sustained it
goodness.
on my chin, and so my whole face was unrecognizable. I then tried to type in my code with my left hand, but because the phone was wet, because my fingers were wet, it didn't work. Then I lost battery on the phone, and so, I mean, it was just
Wow. One thing after
very
another.
unfortunate. But I was determined not to
Mm-hmm.
let go because I had this strange vision of the faces of my two daughters. You've met them as well, right?
Yeah.
And they popped up in my mind's eye, and I heard their voices so clear in my head where they said, "Mum, what are you doing? You need to come home. We need you." And that's
Yeah.
where the survival instinct moves from wanting to protect your own life to making sure that you protect your children. And so I thought, yes, I need to survive this. And somehow found this incredible superhuman strength that I didn't think we had.
Mm.
It's called hysterical strength, actually. I found that out afterwards. And then I thought things couldn't get any worse. But then the second train came into the station and I was unable to escape it. And 22 tons of steel crushed my right leg
Jeez.
below the knee.
That's
And
crazy.
it's crazy. And I still to this day am not sure like how I didn't lose consciousness or die of a heart attack at that moment, but somehow I was still hanging in there and screaming for help. And I screamed, over and over again, "Somebody please help me. My name is Sarah. I don't want to die." And
Mm-hmm.
eventually somebody did notice and did call, raise the alarm and call for help.
Thank God. Jesus. Like the fact that you're down there like once and then it's like twice. I I mean, nobody can imagine that. It's insane. I can't imagine what it must be like to like be down there and then, you think you survived the first one and then you start seeing the second. What was it? Hysterical strength that you said. When that kicks in, I genuinely feel like because it's obviously just a mix of like determination, adrenaline, and I feel like that is like the closest thing we get to like magic, superhuman strength It's insane. And it's like it's almost spiritual, the fact that you're like you just see your children and you
Yeah.
just switch it on and you figure it out. I feel like that like maternal like mother instinct is such an incredibly beautiful thing. It's the same thing I feel like saved my life when I was a baby, because like I had meningitis when I was 15 months old. I was sent home diagnosed with an ear infection, and you know you trust the professionals, but it was my mom who was like, something's not right here, and she just would not give it up. So I do think there's just something spiritual and incredible about a mother's gut instinct and the urge to just go and like make sure they're there for their children. Do you know what I mean? Because it's beyond you at that moment. You think you would be a bit selfish, you know, you stuck like with these tubes coming past, but all you're thinking about is the people you want to get home for and be there for. Like the drive and where that comes from being so pure, like just says so much about you as a human. And I saw you put on a gorgeous post about London Air Ambulance who pulled you out and like looked after you the other day for Limb Difference Awareness Month. And you were talking about how you feel like sometimes if like you didn't actually survive and you're living in some kind of like surreal afterlife. And I was
Yeah.
wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit more.
It's true. Sometimes I have that when, particularly when something extraordinary happens that I never thought I would be meeting these types of people or going to these types of places.
Yeah.
And I sometimes sit there and think, wow, this is so surreal. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, am I still alive, or is this just a
Mm.
weird form of the afterlife where I am actually dead and this is all happening around me? So it's and I say this jokingly. I know it sounds a bit morbid, but I say this
No.
jokingly. And it happens when, I meet some celebrity at some event and they are chasing me for a selfie with them, and I'm kind of like, what? But wait. So this is so surreal. But also, I think I'm quite conscious about the like how close I was to not making it as well, right? And
Yeah.
that stays with you
Hmm.
for probably, I hope, forever, because it also reminds me to appreciate every moment that I have. You know, the the, the common comment that people have is that, well, I don't know how you can be so smiley, how can you be so positive? If that would have happened to me, I'm not sure I would want to continue, you know, trying to make a life. And I thought, well, actually, no, because first of all, the first sense I recovered when I woke up was I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Thank God I'm still here. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I want to see my kids grow old. Like this is
Hmm.
amazing. I've been giving a second chance. But then in that post that I posted on Instagram with the air ambulance crew who saved my life, is that I also feel that without their hard work, I wouldn't be here. And so I'm very grateful. And you mentioned it as well, like how, you know, you've got a professional opinion in the medical field. You know that these people are trying their best to diagnose you, to save you, to repair you as much as they can. And for me, it's like, well, they've done such an exceptional job. I can't possibly disappoint them now in not,
Mm.
enjoying this new lease of
Yeah.
life that I found. For me, that's yeah, that was quite important.
Oh, that's such an interesting perspective. I guess I like fully get you completely actually, because when I talk about like I can't remember like my accident, like when I got meningitis and things like that, to the point where like when I see like pictures of myself with hands, it really doesn't resonate. I'm like, whoa, that was actually me at one point. And I like described the whole event like it happened in third person. Like it was like a completely separate identity to like who I am now. And I feel like you're so right. Like when you have like a near death experience like that, the thing that like drives me forward and motivates me forward now is the thought like of my younger self fighting for her life, being able to survive it. And then if I'm just like lazing about and I'm not living my life to the fullest after that, it's like, what was that fight even for? Like, so it feels
Yeah.
really like maternal to my younger self. I'm like, everything I do now, I need to make sure, that that was worth it for her. But yeah, like you feel like you kind of owe it, like you were so close to death. I think that is genuinely something that sticks with you forever.
But I was thinking about like afterwards, people people have asked me like, but why do you do so much? You know, I travel quite a bit for work, for speaking at conferences. I try to resume like some of my sporting activities as far as the prosthetics are allowing me to do that. And people were
Mhm.
like, but are you not afraid? And or is that not all too much? And I thought, well, statistically, nothing bad can happen to me now because I've maxed out my bad luck, so I should be fine statistically. But also, exactly as you said, it's like if I'm not enjoying my life to the fullest now, then what was the point in me surviving in the first place? You know, so
Mhm.
I get that sense, and that explains why we returned to Kilimanjaro for the second time.
Yeah, talk to me about that. Like, why did you want to do it again? I know you like thoroughly enjoyed the first time, but was it like a sense of like, again, proving this is possible, or were you just going for a stroll up there now it's your second time, you knew you could do it? Like, how was that?
I think it's a bit of both, but what I noticed in the first ascent, so 8 days climbing up almost to 6,000 meters in altitude is amazing. It's
Mm.
super tiring. It's physically really enduring, but
Yeah.
mentally it does something amazing because it's not that technical. It's not like Everest where you have to really fight for your life every minute that you climb up there. It's more of a
Hmm.
very, very long hike.
Yeah.
And you've got plenty of time to be inside your head. And I don't know if it's a combination of the rhythm, you know, putting one foot in front of the other, or if it's the emptiness, because there's hardly anything out there apart from nature and a few other hikers, you know. But you get into your head and it's almost like a meditation. And I managed over 8 days to clean up the cobwebs of my mind. So everything that was holding me back, everything that had like a painful memory attached to it, everything was just cleaned up. And by the time I got to the top, I thought, I'm a new person. And this is why I called myself invincible in that moment, where I was like, oh, all the bad memories that I've, collected over the years, they're all gone now. This is a clean slate. And so that was mentally so extraordinary that it kind of was the motivation for the second time round. It's like, well, I've sustained enormous trauma. Psychologically, this will be quite difficult to overcome. But last time, that meditation up the mountain actually helped me quite a lot. So maybe I can
Mm.
do it again just to, get rid of the trauma. And then
Yeah.
the other part is that I wanted to prove it to myself and to my children and to my husband, saying, like, look, with the right support, with the right team around me, with the right help, with the right prosthetics, with the financial
Mm.
means, then nothing is impossible. We can do this again.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
did.
And you did, which is awesome. And did you wear like the prosthetics all the way up there? Were there any like troubles there? Were they good? Were they helpful?
So, yeah, no, actually, the I wore the prosthetic leg all the way up there. I had a variety of different liners to support me because, of course, we were worried about, blisters and chafing and swelling, and I had no idea like how your residual limb reacts in extreme temperatures. It could be very hot during the day, very cold at night. So
Yeah.
I had no idea. And so we went out with a whole pharmacy and two doctors. So the amazing part here is that we had I met two women. They're both called Kat. Kat
Hmm.
with a C was my physio and health coordinator at the trauma ward of the Royal London Hospital, and Kat with a K is my clinical lead at Dorset Orthopedics,
Hmm.
who is the prosthetist and physio team that supported me in my recovery. And both of them were quite adventurous. So I asked them both, would you like to join me on this crazy adventure? And they said, yeah, you bet, no problem. So
Oh.
having having them to support
Mm.
me, and they were unflinchingly confident that I would be able to do this, and that their confidence obviously helped me be confident about myself too. Then I didn't wear the full bionic arm that I have because I had no need for it
Yeah.
walking up there. Also, it's really quite heavy, so it would have been quite
Hmm.
difficult for me to carry it up the mountain like that. But I had a
Yeah.
lightweight version that had no elbow,
Mm.
and it was they coated it with glow in the dark paint, so I could see
Oh.
it in my tent in the morning, like going through all of my gear. I could find it,
Yeah.
but it didn't have an elbow, so it stopped at the elbow, and it had like a
Mm.
clip on where I can put my hiking pole inside, which would help me with
Oh,
balance on the way
yeah.
up and on the way down, which was pretty cool.
Obviously, because like obviously you are experiencing prosthetics with the arms and the legs now. Like I know nothing about prosthetic legs because I have, I'm a double hand amputee. And I was wondering what's been harder to adjust to? Is it the legs or the arms?
Wow, good question. I mean, I my kids asked me this once. Would you rather have kept
Yeah.
your leg? And I was like, wow. Okay, so to be fair, losing a leg is not great because you can't, it affects your mobility so much. Like I can't
Mhm.
get out of bed without my prosthetic leg.
Mhm.
Like I can't even hop on one leg because I don't have two arms to balance. So
All
I
right.
am literally bed bound if my prosthetic leg doesn't fit. And
Mm.
so that puts me at risk because if any component of my prosthetic leg breaks down, or if my skin develops any bruising or chafing or blistering, then I can't put the prosthetic leg on, then I am completely wheelchair bound. So
Mhm.
that and my mobility is extremely important to me. My house is not designed for wheelchair usage. I can't
Yeah.
go to work. It's like it has so many ripple effects that but then again, to be transparent, like missing my dominant hand and missing my elbow is very complicated. And you know that
Yeah.
so well. You know it better than me. It's like the world has not been designed for people without a hand, without
Nope.
fingers, without dexterity. And so I get frustrated that I need help for almost everything. And the smallest things can be
Mhm.
so frustrating, like putting on an earring or buttoning up clothes, and it's the little things like cutting your food. You have this amazing steak in front of you and you can't cut it
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
your prosthetic hand is not there, or so, but it's very hard to decide between the two. I'd say the leg is probably the most important because that affects my mobility the most.
Mhm. Yeah.
But at the same time, what is the most debilitating is the fact that you don't have a hand. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's not a
Yeah.
nice choice to have to make.
No. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In regards to like the prosthetics that you wear here today, how are those ones working? Because they're pretty advanced. Can you tell us how, you operate the arms, anything cool about that, and the leg as well? How does all that work?
So I have a bionic arm that goes usually. I'm not wearing it now because it has drawbacks as well. I tell you
Mm.
about the drawbacks as well, because the arm is absolutely incredible. It has um an articulated elbow. It has a bionic hand with hundreds and hundreds of grip patterns that you can set yourself. It works over myoelectric technology. I wear usually a silicon liner that has electrodes embedded within. Those electrodes are in constant contact with my skin, very similar to your setup as well, where you think about the movement, you contract the muscles and the tendons in the right sequence, it equates to a movement that your
Hmm.
elbow and your hand then make. The bit that I find super interesting there is that it is AI supported.
Okay.
So I remember when I first trained with the elbow and the hand, I used an app on my phone with a game that you can nickname Simon Says. It's basically the app tells you to do a gesture and then you have to replicate that gesture as fast as possible. And I struggled with that a lot because there was a delay between the moment you thought about a gesture and the moment the gesture executed. And it could be quite long, like 10 seconds is quite long. But what happened is that every time I used the arm, data is collected and stored on an external server. And an AI algorithm goes through these data sets and starts analyzing and finding patterns. It's a pattern recognition AI algorithm. And once it's established, basically it learns how I use the hand. Say, oh,
Yeah.
when she twitches that muscle, it equates to that gesture. If she does the opposite muscle on the other side, it's to open the hand or close the hand or whatever. And then once it's got enough data to play with, it switches over to become generative AI, meaning
Okay.
it starts to predict what the movement is going to be. So instead of having to perform the full tense of the muscle to be picked up by the electrode, I just have to do a small flicker, which makes it
Yeah.
a lot easier a lot faster as well to use. So
That's
these are the
really
good
cool.
parts. Yeah, it's really cool. And what I'm excited about is that it's just the beginning of this technology, right? It's like, I hope that we generate enough visibility and enough interest to have like these hybrid humans that we are. I describe
Yeah.
myself 80% human, 20% bionic, which,
I love that.
you have a good description of yourself like that as well. So everybody finds that, they're part cyborg, part robotic. But I hope that people can see this as an opportunity to regain their mobility or regain health is by being augmented and have this fusion between technology and a human. And I can see that's going to develop over time.
You stepped into a completely different space now where you're a public speaker, you're traveling around, you're going to Asia soon, which sounds so exciting. And meanwhile, testing all of this technology, what is like the most important topic for you to get across when you're doing these talks?
I guess aesthetics, you're right. Aesthetics is something that we care about as users, as wearers of the technology. But at the same time, I don't think it's at the forefront of the everyone's engineering, thinking. It's like, let's not forget that we are looking at form and function simultaneously. It's like, it's a limb that replaces an existing limb, or a limb that we had previously. It should look like part of our body in some form, or it should be a form of expression. If you want to look like a robot, it should be, looking like a robot, but it should be aesthetically pleasing as well as performing a function. And that for sure is something that I focus on. I mean, in my ideal world, I would ask Apple to design my limbs, make it sleek as an iPhone is probably what, and have additional functions, because I'm like, why stop at just wanting to replace the functionality of an arm or a hand? Let's go beyond that. Can I have, I don't know, can I have a lightsaber attachment? Can I have
you get it.
laser pointer? I don't know. Can I have a paddle, ping pong paddle attached to it without me having to actually hold it in a hand? Can I stick a knife in there rather than having a hand that holds the knife? It's like, can I have my iPhone embedded in the forearm? Can I charge it there as well? Can I use it as a screen? Like, let's be creative.
Hell yeah. Like the possibilities are genuinely endless. Like I know when I rocked up with like my big fat vision board of everything I wanted, like Bluetooth speakers, personal assistants was like top of the list, And yeah, technology is getting better and better. And, especially, I don't know about yours, but like these ones are like Bluetooth that I wear. So I'm like, but Bluetooth is like limitless. Like we could do so much with Bluetooth in itself. Like, can we connect to like other things? I was talking to another guy who hacked his prosthetic arm to be able to like DJ and control a modular synthesizer with his muscle signals. And it was like, that is so cool. And we were talking about what if you could connect the Bluetooth to like when you're giving a presentation, you like flex a certain muscle and you can progress the slide or like go back. Do you know what I
Gee,
mean?
it's so funny you say that, because I was doing a presentation yesterday and the clicker malfunctioned, and I literally said that. It's like, oh well, that would be useful to have inside my hand.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
exactly what I
literally.
said.
I did
Yeah,
see something that you were talking about in one of your talks, and it went viral. And you were saying that prosthetics weren't designed for women. And that really struck a chord with me because I'm a girl wearing prosthetics. And again, it was like a massive thing that, you know, my parents were worried about when they first started looking into prosthetics and things like that. The smallest hand available was like way bigger than my mom's hand, and she's a fully grown adult. I'm 5 foot, you know, so it's like when the smallest hand is bigger than you would be fully grown, and you're trying to experiment and you're a child like getting into prosthetics and things like that, it was such a drawback. I mean, it's a huge topic of conversation in general because, you know, women have been so absent from research in healthcare in general. Like, I've got some stats which are crazy. Like, only 29 to 34% of participants in phase 1 trials are women, and it wasn't until 1993 that, you know, like before that point, we were prohibited from participating in clinical research at all, which is just baffling because that wasn't that long ago. And I
yeah.
was wondering, what is your opinion on that gap? And as a disabled woman, like, why is that so important and overlooked?
Well, I can tell you from my experience with the NHS, which was sobering, because I had waited for my NHS arm for about 3.5 years. It's my electric, but it's like a 2 electrode site socket, and you know, manual elbow and a hand grip, basically, where you open and close. And
Yeah.
so a very basic function. And I remember asking for what options I had for the bionic hand, and I was very interested in a particular hand because it was hard wearing, fully waterproof, shockproof, dustproof, whatever. It was designed for the outdoors, and
Mm-hmm.
I like the outdoors, and I wanted to do more activities using a, specifically designed hard knock hand. And they
Yeah.
were like, yeah, we have that hand on the NHS. So I was like, yay, Christmas, Easter, all at the same time. And then I arrived in that appointment for the tryouts, and the hand on the table was twice the size as my own. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's the demo hand, isn't it? And they said, no, that's the hand. And I said, oh, but clearly you have a small version of this because this is a very big hand. And they said,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's what we call the female version of this hand. But unfortunately, it's not on the NHS. So you would have to purchase that privately. And I thought,
What?
wait, what?
Wait,
And
that's
so
crazy because it's the same arm, but just the female version, but you have to go private for that female version.
between you and me, we know exactly what the reason is that a smaller version might be marketed for a higher price, and
Mm.
therefore it missed the cutoff. So it's money issue. But that's not my problem. My problem
Yeah,
is that I'm a taxpayer, and there's no discrimination in the taxes that I pay. I don't get a rebate because I'm a woman. I pay the same as any other man in my
yeah,
in my tax bracket. And so arriving at the NHS, which is what you pay taxes for in part, it's public service,
yeah,
then you are, you know, expecting to be treated the same, but then you're not. And it makes a huge difference because, that hand retails for over £60,000 for a private client, like I
yeah,
would be. Like, who's got that kind of money? And why would I? And so I got upset. And I did ask the question. I asked the clinical team why. I did ask NHS England why. I asked my MP, who's Keir Starmer, why. And that was back in December. And we are now, April. And I only got some wishy-washy defensive responses that actually don't explain why this is the case and what they're going to do in order to get that hand on the list, because I'm not just saying that because I want that hand. I know that so many other people who might be in a similar
yeah.
situation. I visited some recent amputees, traumatic amputees, at the Royal London Hospital at the start of the year, And, you know, they were, I met two women there who will need prosthetics that are actually their size, you know, and not having the
Yeah.
same option as a man. That made me really sad. That made me really
Yeah.
sad not to be able to tell that 18-year-old girl, like, well, you're probably going to struggle to find a hand in your size. So for me, it's like, no, no, we have to fight this. Like, we have to speak up on this, and we have to, and that's the case for everything, is that things are not going to change if we don't say anything.
Yeah.
Things are only going to change if we actually voice our opinions and say, excuse me,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. 100%. It's so important because again, it leans into like your prosthetic hand is more than that. Like it's like an extension of you. Like they're trying to replace a hand that you've lost, and yet they don't have your side. I find that crazy that the male version was on the NHS. Like,
It
but
makes such a difference. Like, it's not just for an aesthetically, you know, inaccurate anatomical point. It's also,
yeah,
bigger the hand, the heavier it is, and
yeah, of
the
course,
harder it is to control, of course, right? So not only do I look ridiculous, like, you know, the Hulk with my massive hand, but, you know, at the same time, I'm unable to use it because it's too
yeah,
heavy to carry, you know. So, and I bring it back to the fact, it's like, well, I'm sorry, if I pay the same taxes as any man, then I deserve the same service, you know, of
yeah.
those public services. So that to me does not make any sense.
Preach. I agree with that. Like, let me know next time we're like storming number 10 because I will be there right there. Like, I
I'm
will
with
be there.
you for sure.
It is Limb Difference Awareness Month this month, which is why I'm like spotlighting limb different people on the podcast this whole month. It's been so much fun like talking to everybody. This would be your fourth Limb Difference Awareness Month since your accident and becoming an amputee. Did you even know that that was a thing? Like, what does that community mean to you now?
I mean, that community is a lifesaver for sure. And
Mm,
I didn't know it existed before I had my incident, of course, that my mind was completely on other things.
yeah,
But now I can say that truly it is a lifesaver. Like, I've had so much support from individuals who had all sorts of different limb differences, you know,
yeah,
be it by birth, be it from an accident, from a disease, be it the arms, the legs, you know, it, but everybody has that same understanding of knowing how vulnerable we are, how fragile, but at the same, how strong and resilient we show up. And so,
yeah.
you know, I try to explain to people what it feels like to have phantom limb pain. Nobody understands that
Mm-mm.
unless you are missing a limb, you know.
Yeah,
And so being able to seek advice in the community, or sometimes just seeking for inspiration, you know, if I'm having, you know, my own struggles to overcome, I love to go into my, you know, community and see that other people have overcome this and that they've climbed those mountains, that they've, you know, done those modeling jobs, you know, traveled
yeah.
to India and spoken at that tech conference like you do, you know. It's like, but that
Oh,
makes me feel good. I'm like, yes, okay, good. I'm not on my own. Like, everybody feels those struggles, but everybody tries to overcome and say, well, you know, we've got one life, let's make the best of it. Let's speak out, let's spread the message, let's get
yeah.
people excited about the possibilities, you know. That is really important.
Yeah, for real. Like the community is insane. And like the way that you light up thinking about that and like talking about people who are role models to you, it's crazy. Like you are also a role model within that community. And so this is my like last little question for anybody who's listening in honor of Limb Difference Awareness Month. If there was like a kid, maybe a young girl or somebody else who is limb different and listening to this right now, and they're in a part of their life where they're kind of feeling like they need to go in deep to, you know, get this resilience, the same resilience that you have. What advice would you give to that person?
I would say be very mindful of the people that surround you, because that is really what saved me.
Mm,
Aside from the professionals in the medical fields and the prosthetists and all the engineers that I, you know, worship because they are amazing, but what really supported me after that were the people around me. And so I want to be surrounded by good people, by people who share my values, who
Yeah.
want to make the world a better place, who, who know they can come to me with their problems and I will do my best to help them. I think and choosing the right partner in life as well, because I was extremely lucky that my husband is awesome. He has,
Yeah.
supported me so much. He's my absolute rock. He has picked me up when I thought I could not go on any further, and
Yeah.
I hope that my children have seen that when you are yourself a good person, you try to be friendly and supportive of others, not just focused on yourself, be generous with your time, and your actions, then people will rally around you when you are in need of help yourself. Have empathy for others.
Yeah.
We were never meant to be doing this whole life thing on our own.
100%. We're all going through this together, do you know what I mean? And I think that's why community is so important. I've genuinely loved this whole month talking to people who are in that limb different community.
And don't forget, my motto hasn't changed. Nothing is impossible. It's even less impossible now with that mindset of, thinking about the positive outcomes rather than just
Yeah.
seeing problems.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. We're coming to the end now. I just want to make sure that we are plugging your socials. If anybody wants to keep up to date with your story or everything that you're doing, your activism, where can we find you across socials or a website?
So I do have a website, sjdelagarde.com. I have an Instagram account, sjdelagarde, and then I'm also on LinkedIn for more professional views.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. This has been an absolute joy. I've loved talking to you. Thank you so much. And yeah, let me know whenever, like I said, we're storming number 10 and we can make real change happen together, Thank you so much, Sarah. I'll speak to you
Thank
soon.
you, Tilly. All right, bye.
Oh my god, that was so good. I have the exact same reaction after every podcast interview I do, I swear. The people we get on here are so awesome. Again, what a role model to have on for Limb Difference Awareness Month. She is somebody who went from having all 4 limbs to losing 2 of them, a leg and an arm, and having to adapt like that. And like I said, her resilience is just unmatched. I mean, girl scaled Mount Kilimanjaro not once but twice. Please do go check out Sarah de Lagarde. She is fantastic, and yeah, we were just chatting a little bit more there, which you didn't see because it's confidential, but we might be doing some things together. We might be making some changes around here for sure. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Tilly Talks Tech. I really do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, leave us a rating. Let me know who else you want to get on the podcast, whether they are limb different bodies, whether it's a cool technological tool or something else. Let's go. Our theme is human potential, so anything cool, let me know. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you next time. Bye.